his right to Dickerson. See him right here. He's trying to come off here, right there. George Martin came off with him. He didn't let Dickerson get out there. Now he had to come back to Hill. He threw the ball a little behind David Hill, and he couldn't handle it. This is a very tough call. You know, you only have one timeout left, plus the 2-minute warning. Do you punt? But if you punt, you can't use your timeouts because you don't have your timeouts. So I think that they darn near do have to go for it right here on 4th down as they're doing.
I think they do, especially since they're down to one timeout.
Yeah, see, if they had their timeouts, they'd be able to do it. They'd be able to punt, then use their timeouts and get the ball back. But here now, the whole season for the Rams is boiling down to this one play.
That's the situation, I think, that when you say exactly what you say is true, that this whole season for the Rams boils down to this one play. In many ways, it seems unfair because they have had a good year, both teams. It could be over on one play. They're going for it. They have to. After this, they'll have the 2-minute warning. Taylor showing blitz and coming. And Taylor is hit from behind. The ball comes loose and the Giants will get it. And it appears that the Giants will be going to San Francisco and staying in California for Christmas. It was ruled a fumble and the Giants come up with it. This is Bill Payne rolling on the ground and hurt.
The Giants sure got the pass rush, so when they needed it, both ends he's going to get it from his right side and his left side as the thing starts to collapse on him about right now. Here they come. One Taylor from the backside, Martin from the backside, and someone right up the front hit him. He had 3-on-1 there. Andy
Hedden was the third man as Bill Parcells has reason to smile. The Giants take over at the Ram 34. Bill Payne limping off the field.
Here's the big 4th down pass rush. Lawrence Taylor coming from the outside here in the right, the bottom of the screen. George Martin, 75, up there in the top. We get the big push in there. Now watch, Taylor gets free off of Pankey. He's coming from behind. Here's Martin coming from the other side, and Hedden is in there also.
It was ruled a fumble, and the Giant bench is a place that you'd go right now if you wanted to celebrate. A minute 58 left to play, and over there things are not quite so happy. 1st down Giants, the Ram 33. Carpenter, Parcells left side, stood on his feet down to about the 25. Stopped finally by Vince Newsom. The Rams fire is just about out. Lawrence Taylor over on the sideline happy about what's going on. Rams call their last timeout. And now it's just 1,000 in attendance today. The largest in Anaheim Stadium history here for this playoff game. It was not a sellout in time to lift the blackout as Sims just kneels on it now, and the clock shows 10 seconds left to play.
This is the last play of the ball game, ladies and gentlemen. Final score, New York 16, Rams 13.
The Giants will spend Christmas Day up in Fresno and get ready to play the 49ers up at Candlestick next week, where John Madden and I will be. Parcells and Robinson. 16-13 Giant victory. It means the Bears go to Washington next Saturday. The NFL Today will begin it all. The NFC Divisional playoff between the New York Giants and the 49ers, live at 3:30 Eastern Time. That's where Coach Madden and I will be. And on Sunday, again, the NFL Today, and then the Redskins and the Bears, the winners of the NFC Central and the NFC East. The executive producer of this game on CBS and the NFL on CBS is Terry O'Neill, ably assisted by Charles H. Milton III, a little sore after our touch football game on Friday night. Sandy Grossman, the director, responsible for all these great pictures. Joan Vetrano did associate producer. The rest of our staff here at Anaheim Stadium who made it not only an enjoyable weekend, but what we think an excellent broadcast. Our hats off to you. The Giants 16, the Rams 13. They didn't stop Eric Dickerson, but they contained him. I think it's all said when you asked Bill Parcells yesterday, John. You expect Dickerson to get his 100 yards? He said, well, he never did say, I admit that I expect him to get 100. He said it's the 200 I'm worried about.
They said he's not worried about that first 100. And that's what that turned out to be true, that Eric Dickerson is going to get his 100. Eric Dickerson did get his 100, but they really controlled him. I mean, they were able to, where he didn't get the big play. He didn't keep the ball on him.
Coming up, stick around, because Irv Cross will have some interviews with the players and 2 features from the NFL.
Well, congratulations are certainly in order for Bill Parcells and the New York Giants for the splendid job they did, and also for Jimmy the Greek for deciding late it was going to be the Giants after all, giving us this lineup now in the NFL playoffs next weekend. Let's start you off with the AFC Divisional playoffs, because they will go first down in Miami. It will be Don Shula and the Dolphins taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who yesterday eliminated the Raiders. Now, let's go back out. The Giants will play the 49ers next, and let's go out to Irv Cross and Coach Bill Parcells.
So I really don't worry about nothing. Nothing. Okay? Tomorrow morning, the bus leaves for the airport at 9 o'clock. Load your bags on the truck. Be on the bus. And I love all of you.
All right! Coach, congratulations, Coach. We got you up here. You know, when he came in, when he came in, the first thing he said to me is, "Don't count us out."
Well, we've been kind of fighting all the way. You know, it's just seems like that we're a team that's nobody expects anything from, and kind of had our backs to the walls there several times during the course of the season. And every time we got them to the wall, we just seemed to be able to muster up enough energy to get it done.
Well, Coach, you had your ball club out here earlier in the season, and things seemed to blow up in your face. Today, you played, I guess, Giant football. What kind of basic changes did you make coming in here?
Well, we didn't really change too much. You know, I think we were pretty embarrassed about what happened. Our special teams played 100% better today than they did in the first game with the Rams. And of course, did a pretty good job on that Superman that got the ball. And Taylor comes up with the big play at the end of the game on 4th down. And we're happy. We kind of played mistake-free football offensively, and got a couple real tough calls there that kind of thought we're going to come back to haunt us. But we're happy and get to play another week.
Coach, congratulations.
Thanks, Irv.
Brent?
All right, Irv, thank you. And Dick, I know you had some thoughts about Parcells following that win, too.
Well, you know, good things usually happen to good people, and he's good people. He puts his life and soul in, and he cares about his players. As just stated there, hey, I love you guys. That's what brings people together and wins ball games like today.
How do you think he deserves to be rated with the other NFC coaches now in the playoffs?
Well, right now, he has to be rated as NFC Coach of the Year because nobody at the first of the year expected him to be where they are.
All right. Jimmy, I know you've been a big booster of Parcells this season. We should point out that Bill and Coach Bobby Knight, the Indiana basketball coach, are very close friends. They met while Parcells was an assistant coach at Army and Knight was the head basketball coach. They have conferred through the season. I know they have continued to talk, and Parcells is a lot like Knight. You got to do it my way. Let's get it done.
No question about it. But you know what? Parcells has gone to some other people, too. You know, he is a great defensive coach, and he has a little bit of help from the outside.
Exactly. Now, let me set the menu again for next Saturday. Again, to remind you, the Giants are going to be playing the San Francisco 49ers. Now, that's who they draw next, and we are on the air here at CBS, 3:30 Eastern Time. It is the Giants and the 49ers. That leaves this schedule now for Sunday as the result of what happened to the wild card game. Mike Ditka and the Chicago Bears will now go into Washington, and they will take on the Redskins. And we will be on the air Sunday at 12 noon with the coverage of that game. Now, the second game, of course, is the AFC. That will be out in Denver. It will be the Broncos against the surprising Pittsburgh Steelers, who ambushed the Raiders the last weekend of the season. And, of course, that, in the end, may have resulted in the Raiders losing yesterday because they had to go on the road, and they just could not handle the crowd, the running game, or the defense up there in Seattle. Now, still ahead of us on the NFL Today here on the postgame, we're going to be going back out to Anaheim. Irv Cross will be talking to some of the players live from the Giants locker room. Also, we'll take a look at next week's divisional playoffs, and Jimmy the Greek will tell us who's favored and by how much. And also, there are 3 coaching vacancies open in the NFL, and a 4th one that remains up in the air right now. We'll look at all those stories when we continue with the NFL Today in just a moment. The heart and soul of the Giants, their tremendous core of linebackers. And here are 2 of the main men, Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson, standing by with Irv. Irv?
Brent, of course, we were talking about the big matchup between Carson and Taylor and Dickerson all day long, I guess. But really, it was a total Giant defense that came up with a big effort today. Is that right?
I'll tell you, it was a hard day. You know, we knew we had to fight till the bitter end. You know, it was kind of hot out there, and we had to give it all we had today, and the guys gave it all, and it was just a great defensive effort today.
Harry, when you first came in the stadium this morning, I said, would you be satisfied if Dickerson rushed for 100 yards? You said, no, we plan to shut him out.
Well, we wanted to, and, you know, a back like Eric, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. He got over 100 yards, and that's a tribute to his greatness. Tried, and we did a pretty good job at times, but it was just hard to hold him down. He's a very explosive back.
Well, one time he did a great job was late in the ball game. Last play the Rams had the game, 4th and long. You came up with a big blitz, LT. Tell me about it.
Well, you know, it's pretty tired because with David Hill, Homer just about all day. You know, he's a big load, and it takes a lot out of you. I'm telling you something else. When on last play, I saw the guy going to 83 go in motion, and I kind of figured that the snap would come after he got past the tackle, so I just got a good jump on the attack and was able to get around him. And George and myself had made the hit, and that was all she wrote.
LT is just being modest. That's why he's being paid all the money he's being paid. He's a money ball player.
You got to negotiate his next contract?
No.
Well,
he's set for life.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you what, you told me also that Superman was back before the game started. Did you guys have some special plan for you to cut LT loose?
Well, I don't know if Superman was back. He may have been back, but I think David Hill put a little bit of kryptonite out there. And I'll tell you, he's a load. I'm very tired. This is the tightest I've ever been after a ball game. He's something else.
All right, you're going to celebrate Christmas out here, I guess, now, huh?
We're going to love it. I'd like to say hello to my wife, Linda, 2 children. How you doing?
Hey, congratulations.
All right, thank you.
All right. Brent.
All right, Irv, thank you. I'll tell you, Dick, those linebackers had help, though, defensively today.
The defensive lineman, Leonard Marshall, we talked about him at halftime. He played super. Jim Burt, the unheralded nose guard, Curtis McGriff, they controlled the line of scrimmage and allowed those linebackers to flow.
You know, there was a lot of talk about how the Giants were going to miss Haynes. He's injured and not back there in the secondary. I don't think against the Rams they would have missed him as much as they will next weekend against San Francisco.
Well, Joe Montana, you know, he's the class passer and a great percentage passer, and they're, what, the number 2 scoring team, number 1 defensive team against scoring. They're a great football team. It'll be a real challenge.
What a bummer I am, right? Here they are enjoying
bring up the bad news.
You don't have much time to enjoy this win out there. Now, still ahead of us on the NFL Today. Irv is going to have more interviews with the Giants, and also we're going to take a look at those coaching changes. What's the situation down in Tampa, Detroit, Indianapolis, and how about the scene up in Buffalo? Besides Bill Parcells, another NFL coach in the headlines this week is a man who hasn't coached a game all year. Bud Grant, who retired at the end of last season, announced on Tuesday that he was going back to his job with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, earlier this fall, when I visited with Bud on a hunting trip in Minnesota, I raised the question of his returning to the game as a coach.
But is there anything in the next couple of years that would cause you to change your mind, entice you back into coaching?
I can't envision what that would be. It'd have to be some kind of a unusual situation where you know, I needed the money badly, and it was, you know, there was a lot there, which I can't foresee that. Not that I have a lot of money at all.
This week, the unusual situation, and Bud Grant is back as coach.
I can coach for as long as I like under the terms of the contract, you know, and it's a question I'm probably going to be asked, and you're not going to get any answer on. You know, how long am I going to coach, or how long is the contract for? Other than say it's a lifetime contract, and how long I'm going to coach, I couldn't tell you at this time.
Even though the Lions were a playoff team last year, they stumbled badly this year, and Monty Clark was fired.
When he sat down, I said, in effect, Monty, I think I have to make a change. I said, I've thought of all the other avenues, all the other possibilities, and I'm afraid it boils down to this.
And the first name to pop up in a rumor, Dick Vermeil, going in to coach the Detroit Lions. I got you right here, Dick. Are you going in to do that?
No, and you aren't heralding it, Denny, I'll tell you that. Just by saying it. No, I am not going back in coaching. I have no intention to. One of the writers from Detroit called the other day and fortunately got my wife, and she shut it off real quick.
So we can put an end to all those rumors right here. You're going to be back with CBS next
I'm going to be back with CBS.
All right. Now, Jimmy, along with Detroit, we've also got Tampa, and I understand that Hugh Culverhouse has moved center stage in that decision-making process. Is that right?
He sure has. He said he is going to make the decision himself. Absolutely. And as of this time, he has not made up his mind. You'll hear about that after the Super Bowl, Brent.
Jimmy, how about some candidates for the Indianapolis job? Now, that is probably the toughest ownership in which to deal with. That Bob Irsay can be very difficult as an owner if you're a coach.
But there's a good thing happening here. Ron Meyer, you remember he was with New England, is very friendly with Irsay's son.
He played for him, I believe, didn't he, down at SMU?
That's right. So I am sure that Meyer will be on top of the list for the Indianapolis job.
Now, is young Irsay taking more of a hold in there with this football team? That could help that front office.
Definitely it is.
All right. Now, what about my friend Buddy Ryan with the Chicago Bears? I've also seen his name mentioned as a possibility of the head coach of the Colts.
No question about it. But Buddy Ryan will not leave the Bears unless it's a prohibitive more amount of money offered to him. If it's the same amount, I mean, he'll stay with the Bears because he and Ditka get along regardless of what that New York paper said this morning.
All right, now another story I want to cover is Sam Ratigliano, because last week everyone was saying he was in as the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. He did have a meeting with Ralph Wilson. They could not get together on a contract. Ratigliano, though, is not completely out of that picture up there, but Dick Vermeil, I suddenly feel very sorry for Kay Stevenson in this situation. He has not been formally fired.
Well, you're talking to a guy that was in coaching, and I can feel for Kay Stevenson. To me, it shows no class. No class at all by management, and they ought to look a little bit deeper into the problems at Buffalo, believe me.
Yeah, but he isn't out of it yet, Brent. I mean, Stevenson can still stay. In fact, I'd make him the favorite to stay, and Ratigliano is the other choice. Mr. Wilson is trying to make up his mind between the two.
All right, and the NFL Today will continue here on CBS. We're going to hear more from the Giants out in their winning locker room when we continue in just a moment. As happy as Bill Parcells is right now, there's always another side to that story. And here is John Robinson, the coach of the Rams. He's with Irv Cross. Irv?
Yeah, Brent, you know, this side of the story is always a tough side of the story to tell. But, Coach, earlier in the week, you told me you didn't know which Giant football team you were going to see because when they came out here before, it really wasn't that good.
Well, I mean, we knew we would see them play at their best, and they did. I thought they played an excellent defensive game. We got down 10 points in the first quarter, and then we just couldn't seem to get that touchdown we gave away with the fumble back. The game was pretty even and pretty close from then on. We were able to drive the football in the second half, but we couldn't get the thing in. A little bit like the 49ers last week, we had to settle for 3 instead of 6s.
Well, let's talk specifically about a play situation. John Madden repeated it a number of times during the broadcast. You were, I guess, around the 5 or 7 yard line or so. You had Crutchfield and Dickerson in the backfield together, and Crutchfield was your ball carrier. What was you thinking on that play series?
Well, it's one we'd like to have back, I think. You know, obviously it didn't work, but it was just outside what we thought was their goal line defensive range. We thought a counter would work there. They came with a goal line defense after we called the play, and we ran a play into, obviously, which wasn't a very good environment, and lost some yards.
Hang in there. Pat, John?
John Robinson can hear Dick Vermeil in New York has a question for the coach. Dick?
Go ahead, Coach.
John, did you feel your squad really had... can he hear
I really can't hear him.
Can't hear
Okay, you can't hear him. Here, I'll give him my telex.
Important. John Robinson, Dick Vermeil. John, do you think your squad had to really battle to overcome a real psychological disadvantage coming into this ball game?
No, I don't think so, Dick. I don't think you can allow yourself any kind of a thought of a psychological disadvantage. These are the playoffs, and you're playing against good football teams, and you have to simply play your best. I don't know that there's any other excuse that you can make. It's time to put it up, and we didn't get it done.
John, you've got a lot of class.
Thank you very much, Coach. Now, John Robinson was there with Irv Cross, and perhaps some of you have joined us late and missed some of the early moments in the game. Now, the Giants dominated and put 10 points on the scoreboard in the first quarter out there in Anaheim for Bill Parcells, and that helped. Now, watch here. Eric Dickerson is going to be slammed in the early going. And that fumble resulted in a Giant possession, and they marched down and got a touchdown. But it was hard going. Rob Carpenter was stopped short trying to come up over the top. But watch here. He'll score from a yard out. He'll slide in that space. Great strength going up over the top. And it was 10-0 after the extra point for Parcells. Eric Dickerson, though, was able to get the Rams a touchdown with this splendid run. And again, he gained 107 yards on the afternoon. Now, the Giants thought they had the game put away right here when Joe Morris took the handoff, broke for the sideline, and got 62 yards on this run, but the play was wiped out because of a holding penalty, and that gave the Rams a breath. But then on fourth down, when they were desperately trying to get down with only one timeout and attempt a field goal, Jeff Kemp was hit, and on the fumble, the Giants recovered, and the game was over. And a long afternoon for John Robinson. Dick, looking at that replay, it looked to me like Jeff Kemp might have had a safety valve receiver out of the right-hand side. I hadn't seen that.
It looked like an incomplete forward pass, really.
It really
did. The arm was going forward rather than a fumble, but everybody sees those things differently.
Jimmy, let us talk about the Ram game. They have, of course, lost now to the Giants, and Jeff Kemp had taken over for Vince Ferragamo. Do you think John will make any major changes with that franchise as a result of this, or will he come back with Jeff Kemp and just keep on going?
Kemp played 13 games and won 9 out of the 13. I mean, you're not going to disgrace the boy for one game after all. It was a playoff game, that's true. I think he's the quarterback of the Rams.
All right. Jimmy and Dick, I want to change the subject to the AFC because some of the folks might not have seen some of the action for the Raider game yesterday in the Kingdome. And, of course, it was Seattle dominating defensively as well as with a sensational running game against the Raiders. Now, watch the defense come swarming here. Marcus Allen will take the pitch early, and he gets thrown for a 2-yard loss. And Tom Flores could not be happy with the way things were going early. Dan Dornick and the Hawks dominated the game. Watch here. He gets 11 of his 123 yards rushing. He was particularly tough late when the Seahawks needed a vital first down. Dave Craig with the touchdown for the Seahawks, and he's got the youngster Darrell Turner for a 26-yard touchdown. And it was Chuck Knox's game plan that ruled the day out in Seattle. And watch here as the Hawks continue their defensive pressure. They will sack the Raider quarterback Jim Plunkett 6 times. Jacob Green had 2.5 of the sacks. And the final was 13-7, Seattle over the Raiders. And so, Jimmy, let's take a look now at what the Seahawks have got next, and that would be the Miami game down in the Orange Bowl. Who will be favored in that game?
Who do you think?
Well, I'll try not to act and give it away, you know.
It'll be a touchdown, 7 points in favor of Miami, Brent. Miami and Shula and, you know, and that quarterback that they have down there, I mean, they'll just put too many points on the board. They have to be the favorite.
All right, now the Giants have to turn right around and come back next Saturday afternoon. Now, they're going to stay out in California just a short week. The Raiders faced it. They lost. Who will be, well, by how many will San Francisco be favored by over the Giants?
It'll be a strong touchdown, Brent. Let's not forget the Monday night game that the Giants and the 49ers played. Remember, it was 21-0 the first quarter. I mean, they just walked away from them. But the Giants are a different team at this moment. They're a better team. They're better defensively. They have a better offensive line. They'll give the 49ers some problems. There's no question about that. But the 49ers are the best team in football.
They certainly have showed it so far. But again, Dick Vermeil, I would guess that revenge might be a motive all over again for the Giants.
Well, I think John Robinson really voiced that opinion in regard to the psychological advantage or disadvantage. And granted, San Francisco did take them apart, but the Giants are better than that. But the San Francisco, in the teams that I've seen this year, are clearly the best football team, clearly.
Jimmy, now on Sunday afternoon, the Bears, Walter Payton, they go into Washington to play the Redskins.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I got a chance to get the Bears and San Francisco into the finals. And boy, I tell you, if I do.
Wait a minute.
There's a chance.
That is a tough team at home down in Washington.
It sure is, and I'll probably kill going down there, but if I ever think about picking the Bears. But you know what? They will be in good shape, and at least they get a quarterback back, Mr. Fuller. But the Redskins will still be a favorite. less than a touchdown.
Less than a touchdown in that one. Now, what about Pittsburgh and Denver? John Elway and the Broncos hosting the Steelers.
Brett, Elway is just improving with every game. But you've got Noel over there on the other side who has had the experience of being in playoff games. And boy, I tell you, Dick will tell you, it sure means something different, not only to the coaches, but to the players, too. I've got to go with Denver at a slight favorite, like maybe a nickel or something.
Dick, how much does experience mean to a coach in the playoffs? Jimmy raises that issue.
Well, I feel it is an advantage because you've been through the preparation. As an inexperienced coach going to the playoffs, sometimes you tend to make too much and change your preparation, which affects the performance of your football team. It's an edge.
All right, now, the man of the hour as far as the Giants are concerned, their strong quarterback, Phil Simms. He'll be coming up with Irv Cross live from Anaheim when we continue. For Phil Simms and the Giants, San Francisco is next, and the quarterback is standing by with Irv Cross. Irv?
You know, Brett, I'm smiling because before the game started, I went over to Phil and I said, now, how in the world do you beat the Rams? He said, well, all we have to do is throw short, quick passes, play a conservative game, don't get impatient, and we'll beat them. You did it.
Sounded easy before the game, didn't it? But we did on offense what we wanted to do today. That was control the ball a little, keep our defense off the field some, and get it down there and get a chance to score once in a while. And a little disappointed that we didn't throw a long one in there because we did have a couple chances. But the big thing we did, we kept the ball moving and didn't get the points when we needed them.
Well, Phil, you came here earlier in the season, and the Giants really didn't play a very good football game. Was that sort of an incentive for you to play well today in addition to being in the playoffs?
Well, I think the playoffs was enough. I mean, that just to know that if we didn't play well today, it was over for us. So the incentive was just to win a playoff game and play again next week. But knowing that they beat us like they did back then, I think that was on their mind. I don't know if it played. They thought that maybe we'd be a little easier to beat than maybe another team. But it could have, and if it did, then I'm glad. But we came. Well, the thing is, we just played hard up front on both sides of the ball.
When you did run the ball, you seemed to be working to your right a lot, which meant you were working against Jack Youngblood. Were you aware of the fact that Youngblood came into the game with an injury?
Yeah, I think we were. We wanted to go after him and really pound the ball at him a couple times and see how well he was and everything. And when we did go over there, we got some yards a couple times. You know, they're a tough defense to run against, but the running game was very timely today. When we stuck one in every once in a while, we got to play and we needed it.
Phil, congratulations. Let's go up to Pat and John and their thoughts on the game.
Okay, Herb, thank you very much. You know, in the fourth quarter, there were some clutch plays made by a guy named Terry Kennard. The Rams are driving. A touchdown would have put them ahead, assuming they made the extra point. And Terry Kennard came up with 3 key clutch tackles.
I think that those were the big ones. You know, we see the first one was to Mike Barber. Remember the tight end from the Rams? He catches a crossing pattern here, and Kennard. Barber was going to give Kennard a jolt. Kennard gave Barber a jolt, and that's a double jolt. Watch here. But on this drive, he really made some big plays. There was the first tackle that he made on that drive, the first stop.
And then coming up, Eric Dickerson, who is oh so dangerous and can explode anytime, breaks loose on a 24-yard run. And look how close this is to being a touchdown, but for Terry Kennard.
To me, this was the biggest play in the game for the Giants defense, because right here, when you see Dickerson break, you have to think touchdown right there. Watch Kennard, the way he comes up, extends his body, and just gets Dickerson. To me, that was a difference in the game today.
Here's the same play again. You can see that there's nobody back of him except for Kennard's dive at the end. Dickerson is gone.
I think if you needed a most valuable defensive player, even off just that one play, today had to be Terry Kennard.
Later in the series.
Here's another one that he makes. Now, that's a tough tackle. That doesn't look like a big one, but when you have to tackle in the open field, man-to-man, Eric Dickerson, that's a tough thing to do.
John, as you look ahead, what do you think the Giants' chances now? They got to play next week and next Saturday against San Francisco up in Candlestick Park. What are your thoughts about how they'll do up there?
I think one thing they have to do is they have to open up a little more. They were today, it was easy and a good plan to be conservative because you're playing against the Rams, Jeff Kemper running team. They aren't going to score a lot of points. Now, next week, you're talking about a different deal up there in San Francisco, and those 49ers, they can light up the board. And I think the only way that anyone can beat the 49ers is by outscoring them, by scoring a lot of points and doing things and open up and match them point for point. You can't do it by just trying to control the ball on you.
We look forward to being there. We talked about Terry Kennard. He is now with Irv Cross, so let's go back to Irv.
All right, Pat. Terry, you know, a free safety making that many tackles in crucial situations is unusual. John Madden said you're the most valuable defensive player on the field today.
Well, I was able to make some plays today, and the fact that I was in position to do that, I was thankful that I was able to get up in there and make the tackle. But I think as a defense, we played well today, and we had some things in there that I was able to get up and be aggressive on the run because, we knew Dickerson was an excellent runner, and to be successful against the Rams, you have to stop him.
Do you think that because teams are so conscious of your linebackers that they're trying to double up linebackers somewhere along the line, they let the safety men go free sometimes?
Sometimes, I think that on run support, a lot of times I'm clean, I'm lined up 10, 11 yards deep sometimes, and, a lot of times they forget about the safety, but, some safeties are able to, when they're aggressive, to get up in there and make some tackles. So today I was able to get up in there and be aggressive, and because I knew they ran the ball to Dixon a lot, and to stop him, you have to get up in there and play hard.
All right, Terry, look, congratulations. We'll see you next week in San Francisco.
All right, thank you.
Brent?
All right, Irv, a splendid play there by Terry Kennard, a former #1 draft choice out of Clemson, and he has not always delighted the coaching staff of the Giants, but he came through with a big moment for him today. We'll continue with the NFL. Well, a reminder that coming up next here on CBS is 60 Minutes, except on the West Coast, where we'll be seen at its regularly scheduled time. And, of course, we will have a Christmas special for you on CBS this Tuesday afternoon, and it's going to feature the NBA with the Doctor, Julius Erving taking on the Detroit Pistons and Isaiah Thomas. Now, last night, the 76ers came away with a win, and Santa Claus visited the Spectrum last night.